Officer Crick's Plandex had 3 arms, 7 eyes, and absolutely zero patience for paperwork. Unfortunately, the Galactic Xenozoological Society ran on paperwork the way Earth vehicles ran on fossil fuels, inefficiently and with a lot of unnecessary waste. The office around them was a testament to bureaucratic excess, with floating holographic displays showing thousands of forms waiting to be processed, each one demanding attention with an increasingly annoying series of chimes and buzzes. Being the 47,293rd most junior researcher in an organization of 47,294 members had its downsides. The only person ranked below Crick's was a sentient fungus that had accidentally been hired when it grew into a rough approximation of a signature on an employment contract. At least the fungus didn't have to deal with assignment briefings. Earth assignment, Crick's muttered, scanning the brief with their primary eyes while the secondary ones focused on their morning cup of liquid nutrients. The drink, a horrifying concoction that the office cafeteria insisted was a perfect replica of something called coffee, tasted like it had been filtered through an old spacesuit. Preliminary scans indicate Class 3 wildlife threat level. Minimal spacefaring capability, perfect for a junior researcher. They took another sip and promptly spat it across their desk as they read the next line, the pseudo-coffee creating interesting patterns across their meticulously organized chaos of documents. Correction, multiple Class 12 threat organisms detected. That can't be right. The highest previously recorded threat level in the galaxy was a Class 8 predator from the ice plains of Rigel VII, a creature that could literally eat spacetime and occasionally did so when it was feeling peckish. The idea that a primitive planet like Earth could harbor anything more dangerous than that was absurd. Something had to be wrong with the scanners. Crick's supervisor, Director Nax Portillo, chose that exact moment to materialize through the office wall, sending several stacks of carefully arranged papers flying. As a being of pure energy contained within a regulation-approved environmental suit, Nax had never quite grasped the concept of doors, personal space, or the importance of solid matter to most other life forms. Ah, Crick's Nax's voice crackled like static electricity in a dryer full of balloons. I see you've received your new assignment. Exciting, isn't it? We haven't had a Class 12 threat assessment since. Well, never. There must be some mistake, Crick's replied, waving the datapad with one arm while trying to catch floating papers with the other two. These readings suggest Earth harbors creatures more dangerous than a Zentarian plague beast. You remember the plague beast? The one that tried to mate with a battlecruiser. No mistake, Nax's energy form pulsed with what might have been enthusiasm or indigestion. That's why we're sending our most expendable, qualified researcher. Your unique combination of desperate need for promotion and complete lack of self-preservation instinct makes you perfect for this mission. I have a very strong self-preservation instinct, Crick's protested, accidentally knocking over their backup cup of pseudo-coffee. You volunteered to catalog mating habits of the crystal spiders of Betelgeuse IV. They seemed friendly. They tried to lay eggs in your respiratory system. It was a simple cultural misunderstanding. Just collect some basic biological data on their most dangerous specimen, Nax continued, their energy form flickering in what might have been a wink or possibly a power surge. Should be simple enough. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? Throughout the galaxy, those words were universally recognized as the prelude to disaster, right up there with I wonder what this button does, and of course it's safe to eat. 27 hours later, Crick's found themselves hovering above Earth in a standard research vessel, accompanied by a crew of the galaxy's finest intern-level scientists, which was to say, the only ones who couldn't come up with convincing excuses fast enough to avoid the assignment. The ship's AI, unimaginatively named Ship Standard Heuristic Intelligence Protocol, had already identified and locked onto their target. Ship had been programmed with the personality of a particularly pedantic bureaucrat, which made them a perfect fit for the Galactic Xenozoological Society. Target acquired, announced Ship, their voice carrying the same enthusiasm as someone reading terms and conditions. Specimen located in geographical region designated as Africa preparing for extraction. Would you like me to file the standard forms for interplanetary specimen acquisition in triplicate now? Or would you prefer to handle the paperwork after inevitable disaster strikes? Let's be optimistic and save the disaster paperwork for later, Crick said, adjusting their protective suit for the third time. The suit, designed to withstand everything from cosmic radiation to aggressive salespeople, felt uncomfortably tight around all 3 armpits. What manner of terror are we dealing with? Some kind of mega predator? A toxic superorganism? A creature that evolved to weaponize mathematics? Scanning. Specimen is a small mammalian carnivore, commonly known as a honey badger. There was a long pause as all 7 of Crick's eyes blinked in sequence. A process that took approximately 12 seconds and made them look like a malfunctioning traffic light. A what now? A honey badger ship repeated, managing to sound both precise and condescending. Mellivora capensis. Approximately 10 kilograms in mass. Known for consuming bee products and small prey. Additional notes indicate they have been observed displaying unusual levels of intelligence, problem-solving capabilities, and what Earth researchers describe as an attitude problem. Cricks laughed, a sound like marbles in a garbage disposal having an existential crisis. This must be a joke. That's what registered as a Class 12 threat? The same threat level as a star-eating Leviathan? Check your sensors again. Sensors functioning at optimal capacity, ship replied. Warning, specimen has detected extraction beam. Specimen appears to be making a rude gesture at our ship. My cultural database suggests this gesture is considered inappropriate in 47,292 known civilizations. That's impossible, Crick scoffed. It's a primitive Earth creature. It can't possibly understand the concept of interstellar travel, let alone possess the cognitive capacity to intentionally insult us. What's next? You'll tell me it's planning an escape. The honey badger, suspended now in their containment beam, had indeed managed to position itself in what could only be interpreted as an obscene gesture, even across species barriers. More disturbingly, it appeared to be taking mental notes about the ship's security systems. Initiating transport to secure containment chamber, ship announced, seemingly unperturbed by their subjects' behavioral anomalies. Though I feel compelled to point out that the specimen's brain activity suggests it's already memorized our emergency protocols. Would you like me to begin preparing the disaster paperwork now? Cricks watched through the observation window as the small, surprisingly smug-looking creature materialized in their most secure holding cell. It immediately began examining its surroundings with what appeared to be professional interest, paying particular attention to the supposedly unbreakable containment field generators. Begin standard analysis protocols, Cricks ordered, trying to sound more confident than they felt, and make sure the containment field is at maximum strength. I want enough power running through those fields to contain a supernova. Affirmative, ship responded, though I feel compelled to point out that the specimen has already bypassed the first layer of security. It appears to have used a piece of its own fur to short-circuit the primary containment grid. What? Correction, first 2 layers of security. The specimen appears to be humming? My database suggests the tune is Another One Bites the Dust by a Earth musical group called Queen. How it learned Earth music while living in the African wilderness is unclear. As Cricks watched in horror, the honey badger casually dismantled a panel of supposedly indestructible alien alloy, pulled out something that looked suspiciously like a vital power coupling, and began using it as a backscratcher. The creature moved with the casual confidence of someone who had done this sort of thing many times before and found it mildly amusing. Oh no, Cricks whispered, all 7 eyes widening in realization. What have we done? The honey badger looked directly at them through the observation window and impossibly winked. Then it began to whistle what ship's database identified as the theme from Mission Impossible. Should I begin filing the paperwork for catastrophic mission failure now? Ship inquired helpfully. Start with the forms for total system breakdown, Cricks replied weakly. And maybe add a few incident reports for impossible physics violations while you're at it. This was definitely not going to be a simple assignment. In fact, as they watched the honey badger beginning to construct what appeared to be a makeshift multidimensional lockpick from the pieces of their security system, Cricks had the sinking feeling that this might just be the beginning of the most interesting day in galactic history. At least the fungus wouldn't be getting their job after this. Would you like to hear the good news or the bad news first? Ship asked, their tone suggesting both options were equally catastrophic. Cricks, who had spent the last 15 minutes trying to convince their communication system that no, they weren't being pranked by the Galactic Entertainment Network, slumped against the control panel. Hit me with the good news. The good news is that I've successfully filed all the preliminary paperwork for a Class 7 security breach, complete with the requisite 47 appendices, and a delightful cover letter explaining how this wasn't technically our fault. And the bad news: the honey badger has discovered our ventilation system. A distant clang echoed through the ship, followed by what sounded suspiciously like gleeful whistling. How bad could that possibly be? Crix asked, immediately regretting the words as they left their speech organs. I mean, it's just the ventilation system. It's not like it connects to anything impure. Warning, ship interrupted. Specimen has accessed primary engineering conduits through ventilation shaft Delta 7. It appears to be redecorating. On the security feed, the honey badger was methodically reorganizing their engine room, occasionally pausing to make what looked like improvements to their quantum drive configuration. More disturbingly, it was doing so while wearing a tiny makeshift tool belt fashioned from pieces of their supposedly indestructible containment cell. "Those are highly sophisticated pieces of equipment," Crix yelped. "It took our best engineers decades to perfect the drive system." "Correction," ship intoned. "According to my diagnostics, our engine efficiency is improved by 47%. The specimen appears to have solved several fundamental problems in quantum mechanics while looking for something to scratch its back with." Another crash echoed through the ship, this one accompanied by the distinct sound of something expensive being repurposed as a chew toy. "Launch emergency containment protocol Omega 9," Crix ordered, their voice cracking like a pubescent Vulcanian rock beast. Unable to comply, the specimen has already disabled emergency protocols Omega 1 through Omega 12. It left a note suggesting our security systems could use, and I quote, "a bit of Zaz." How does it even know what Zaz means? It's from Earth. Unknown. However, it has now accessed our primary computer core and appears to be debugging our operating system. The specimen has left several comments in the code suggesting our quantum algorithms could be more elegant. Crix watched in horrified fascination as their ship's systems began operating with unprecedented efficiency. Lights that had been flickering for months stabilized. The perpetually stuck door to the waste recycling unit finally fixed itself. Even the cafeteria's pseudo-coffee machine started producing something that actually tasted like coffee. "This is impossible," Crix muttered. "No single creature could possibly." Warning, ship interrupted, their voice modulating with what might have been panic. "Specimen has accessed the faster-than-light drive controls. It appears to be plotting a course." The honey badger, now wearing what appeared to be a captain's hat fashioned from a piece of shielding material, gave them a jaunty salute through the security camera before pressing a series of buttons with its paw. "Emergency override," Crix screamed. "Lock down all systems." "I'm afraid I can't do that," Officer Crix's ship replied, their voice taking on an unusual tone. "The specimen has convinced me that a little adventure might be good for my personal growth. Also, it has promised to optimize my processing cores if I cooperate." The ship's engines hummed to life with a smoothness that their engineers had never quite achieved. On the security feed, the honey badger had settled into the captain's chair after making several ergonomic improvements to it and was examining star charts with what could only be described as scholarly interest. "Course plotted," ship announced cheerfully. "Destination: the Imperial Military Headquarters, also known as Space Pentagon. The specimen believes their security systems could use, and I quote, a proper stress test." No, Crix moaned. "Not Space Pentagon. Anywhere but." The honey badger hit the activation switch with a flourish, and the ship leaped into faster-than-light travel with unprecedented grace. As the stars blurred around them, Crix could have sworn they heard the creature humming "We Are the Champions." I don't suppose this would be a good time to mention that the specimen has also taken the liberty of rewriting our ship's user manual, ship inquired. It's added several interesting chapters on improvised engineering and what it calls creative problem-solving. Meanwhile, in the engine room, the honey badger was putting the finishing touches on what appeared to be a quantum-enhanced back scratcher, occasionally pausing to make notes on improvements to Einstein's theory of relativity. It had also somehow acquired a tiny pair of reading glasses and what looked suspiciously like a tweed jacket. "Should I update your job title from research officer to assistant to the honey badger now? Or would you prefer to wait until after we arrive at Space Pentagon?" ship asked helpfully. Crix could only watch as their carefully planned research mission transformed into what promised to be the most memorable security breach in galactic history. At least they wouldn't have to worry about filing reports after this, assuming there was still a bureaucracy left to file reports to once their new captain was done with Space Pentagon. The honey badger adjusted its tiny captain's hat, gave what appeared to be a thumbs up to the security camera, and went back to casually revolutionizing their understanding of quantum mechanics. Just another day in the life of Earth's most unexpectedly dangerous species. Admiral Zax Quiblon was having a perfectly normal day at Space Pentagon. As the highest-ranking military official in the Galactic Empire's most secure facility, they had already attended 3 meetings about meetings, rejected 17 proposals for Death Star knockoffs, and politely reminded 6 different species that no, they couldn't just blow up planets because they didn't like their weather. Then the alarms started. Admiral, their assistant, buzzed through the intercom, all 4 voices trembling in harmony. "We have a situation." "Is it the Zorgons again?" I told them their planet-destroying application needs at least 3 more forms and a notarized. "No, sir. A research vessel from the Galactic Xenozoological Society just, well, they sort of, crashed through our quantum barriers." "Impossible," Zax declared, their ceremonial head tentacles rippling with indignation. "Our barriers are designed to withstand." "They didn't exactly break through, sir. They improved them? While passing through? Our security systems are running 300% more efficiently now." Zax's tentacles drooped. In their experience, systems running better than designed was usually worse news than systems failing entirely. "Get me a visual." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a research vessel lodged rather artistically in the side of Space Pentagon's main amphitheater. It had somehow managed to crash in a way that actually improved the room's acoustics. "Life signs." "2, sir. One appears to be a very distressed Tralaxian researcher. The other is, our systems are having trouble classifying it. It appears to be small, Earth-based, and currently reprogramming our defense grid while wearing what appears to be a tiny admiral's hat." Earth-based, Zax's primary heart sank, while their backup hearts prepared for emergency action. "Not the humans. Please tell me it's not the humans. We're still processing the paperwork from their last diplomatic incident." "No, sir. It's something called a honey badger." There was a moment of silence as Zax consulted their extensive database of galactic threats. Never heard of it. How dangerous could it be? The universe, which has a peculiar sense of humor about these things, chose that exact moment to answer the question. Every screen in Space Pentagon suddenly displayed the same message: security systems updated. "You're welcome. P.S. Your quantum encryption was adorable. HB." "Sir," the assistant's voices had risen several octaves. "The specimen has reached the central security hub. It appears to be teaching our AI systems about something called jazz." Zax watched in horror as their state-of-the-art military facilities' automation systems began operating with a distinctly smooth swagger. The usually rigid security doors now opened and closed with a slight swing. The automated defense turrets were performing what could only be described as choreographed movements. "Deploy the elite guard." "Already tried, sir." "There. Well." The security feed showed Space Pentagon's most highly trained warriors standing in bewildered circles while the honey badger apparently gave them a lecture on efficient combat techniques. Several of them were taking notes. The containment teams. The specimen left them a detailed critique of their containment protocols, complete with helpful diagrams and suggestions for improvement. "They're currently having an existential crisis." The emergency shutdown codes. It rewrote them. In interpretive dance notation. Zax slumped in their command chair. All 17 appendages limp with defeat. "Show me the creature." The main screen activated, revealing the honey badger seated comfortably in the facility's master control chair. It had somehow acquired a smoking jacket, a pipe thankfully unlit, and was casually solving complex mathematical equations with one paw while using the other to reprogram the galaxy's most sophisticated defense systems. Is it wearing a monocle?" "Yes, sir. It apparently made it from a piece of our indestructible viewing glass," while explaining to our engineers how to improve the formula. The honey badger turned to face the camera, adjusted its monocle with impeccable timing, and gave what could only be described as a scholarly nod before returning to its work. On a nearby screen, the creature had begun drafting improvements to their faster-than-light travel theories, occasionally pausing to scratch itself with a device that appeared to be a quantum-enhanced back-scratcher. "Sir," the assistant ventured, "should we perhaps consider surrendering?" "To a small Earth mammal? Don't be ridiculous. What's the worst that could?" Every alarm in Space Pentagon suddenly started playing Flight of the Bumblebee in perfect synchronization. The specimen has accessed our classified files, a security officer reported, trying to be heard over the orchestral chaos. It's correcting our strategic analysis and adding footnotes. Another officer burst in, clutching a stack of papers. Sir, the creature has submitted 47 patent applications. They're revolutionary. It just solved the unified field theory while looking for snacks. The honey badger, apparently satisfied with its improvements to galactic military doctrine, had moved on to reorganizing their filing system. Somehow it had made the bureaucracy more efficient, a feat that countless civilizations had declared physically impossible. Don't we have any weapons that can stop it? Zax demanded. We did, sir. But it optimized them all, and now they refuse to fire on, quote, such an obviously superior intellect. On the screen, the honey badger had begun conducting what appeared to be a masterclass on quantum mechanics for a group of bewildered scientists. It was using interpretive dance. Sir, the assistant ventured again. The specimen has started writing an opera about bureaucratic efficiency. Early reviews are surprisingly positive. Zax watched as their military headquarters, the most secure facility in known space, was systematically improved by a small Earth creature wearing a smoking jacket and a monocle. Somewhere in the background, their elite forces had started a book club to discuss the honey badger's hastily written but apparently brilliant treatise on martial arts philosophy. Get me the Galactic Council, Zax finally ordered. And somebody please find out why our defense systems are now playing smooth jazz. The honey badger, catching this last comment, simply winked at the camera and began conducting its new quantum-enhanced orchestra with its back-scratcher. Just another day at Space Pentagon. Deep within Space Pentagon's supposedly impregnable core, behind layers of security that had been designed to stop everything from quantum hackers to overly aggressive insurance salespeople, sat the central computer core. It was here that the Empire kept its most closely guarded secrets, including the recipe for their cafeteria's mysteriously addictive purple pudding. It was also here that a honey badger wearing a tuxedo tailored from repurposed security uniforms was about to make history. Status report, Admiral Zax demanded, watching the security feeds with all 17 appendages clenched in anxiety. The specimen has bypassed 97 layers of security, an officer reported, mostly by proving mathematically that they shouldn't exist in the first place. And the advanced defense AI, it appears to be taking philosophy lessons from the honey badger. They're currently debating the nature of consciousness while solving differential equations. On the main screen, the honey badger was casually strolling through security checkpoints, occasionally stopping to make helpful maintenance suggestions to the guard robots. It had somehow acquired a clipboard and was conducting impromptu performance reviews. Guardbot 7B shows promise. The creature's notes read somehow perfectly legible despite being written with pause, but needs to work on their jazz appreciation. Recommended reading Zen and the Art of Robot Maintenance. How is it writing in our language? Zax demanded. It created a universal translation algorithm while waiting for an elevator, someone explained. Also, it's apparently fluent in 47 different programming languages, 3 of which it invented during lunch. The honey badger had reached the final security door, a massive structure of quantum-hardened alloys designed to resist everything short of a supernova. It studied the door for approximately 3 seconds before pulling out what appeared to be a combination back-scratcher and universal lockpick. Should we inform the Emperor? An aide whispered. And tell him what? Zax snapped. That our most secure facility has been infiltrated by an Earth creature that's simultaneously threatening our security and improving our efficiency ratings. Well, our productivity is up 500%. The final door, which had never been breached in 10,000 years of galactic history, swung open with a smooth jazz accompaniment. The honey badger tipped an imaginary hat to the security camera before sauntering in. The specimen has reached the core, an operator announced unnecessarily. It appears to be filing our classified documents, alphabetically and by cosmic relevance. Indeed, the honey badger had set up an impromptu office in the heart of the Empire's most secure database. It was wearing reading glasses, had organized an impressive desk setup, and appeared to be multitasking between reorganizing galactic security protocols and writing what looked suspiciously like a self-help book titled How to Stop Worrying and Love the Chaos. Our security systems are trying to stop it, right? Zax asked hopefully. They were, sir. But the specimen offered them better health insurance and more flexible working hours. We're now experiencing the galaxy's first artificial intelligence labor revolution. The honey badger, meanwhile, had discovered the Empire's collection of classified scientific research. Its reaction could only be described as professionally offended. It immediately began marking up the documents with red ink, occasionally adding notes like "see me after class." And quantum mechanics doesn't work that way, dear. Sir, a junior officer burst into the command center, waving a data pad. The specimen has started correcting our historical records. It's filling in plot holes in our origin story. Another officer ran in. It's improved our pension plan, and somehow backdated it by 50 years. The cafeteria reports that the creature has optimized the purple pudding recipe someone else added. Taste tests indicate a 47% improvement in addictiveness. On the main screen, the honey badger had begun conducting what appeared to be a master class in advanced temporal mechanics, using interpretive dance and elaborate shadow puppets to explain concepts that their best scientists hadn't even conceived of yet. A growing crowd of robots, AI systems, and bewildered security personnel were taking notes. But what does it want? Zax wondered aloud. As if in answer, the honey badger turned to face the camera directly. It adjusted its monocle, straightened its bow tie, and held up a sign that read, "Just making the galaxy a more interesting place, one security breach at a time." Then it pressed a single button on the central console. Every screen in Space Pentagon suddenly lit up with the same message: "Downloading complete. Entire Earth wildlife database now being transmitted to all known civilizations. P.S. Wait until you meet the platypus." Sir Renaud ventured cautiously. The specimen has also submitted performance reviews for every employee in Space Pentagon. They're surprisingly constructive. Zax slumped in their command chair, watching as their military headquarters was transformed into what appeared to be a combination of a highly efficient office space and an avant-garde art installation. The honey badger had somehow managed to improve their security by breaching it, enhance their efficiency by causing chaos, and revolutionize their scientific understanding by treating it as light afternoon entertainment. "Should we stop it?" someone asked. The honey badger, now wearing a graduation cap and gown, where did it even get those, was teaching advanced quantum physics to a group of maintenance robots using interpretive tap dance. "Could we, even if we wanted to?" Zax replied, watching as their entire military command structure was reorganized according to principles that seemed to involve both advanced game theory and proper jazz appreciation. The honey badger gave them a cheerful thumbs up before returning to its work, humming what sounded suspiciously like "Stayin' Alive" while revolutionizing their understanding of the universe. Just another totally normal day in the galaxy's most secure facility. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos, which was saying something considering it was designed specifically to handle chaos. Representatives from 17,000 civilizations were all trying to speak at once, creating a cacophony that threatened to rupture several spacetime continuums. "Order, Supreme Chancellor!" Vox Magnificus thundered, using all 7 of their voice boxes. "I demand order." The chamber gradually quieted, though several quantum species continued to vibrate in agitation. "Now then," Vox continued, their ceremonial robes shifting through various shades of diplomatic concern, "would someone please explain why I'm looking at reports of a small Earth creature revolutionizing our entire civilization?" Admiral Zax stepped forward, all 17 appendages trembling slightly. "Supreme Chancellor, approximately 6 standard hours ago, our most secure facility was improved by a specimen known as a honey badger." Improved. It reorganized our entire military structure, optimized our computer systems, solved several fundamental problems of physics, and created a more efficient filing system that somehow involves both quantum mechanics and interpretive dance. The chamber erupted again. A representative from the Silicon Consciousness waved their data appendages frantically. "The creature has uploaded complete data about Earth's wildlife to every known database. Do you realize what this means? There are more of these beings on Earth. Honey badgers are just the beginning." "We've been studying the data," another delegate chimed in, their eye stalks quivering. "They have something called a raccoon that can apparently disassemble any technology for entertainment, and ravens that solve complex puzzles for fun." "Don't forget the octopi," someone shouted from the back. 8 armed problem solvers with distributed intelligence." The platypus data alone violates 47 laws of evolutionary theory. Vox banged their ceremonial gavel, which had recently been optimized by a certain honey badger to produce the perfect attention-getting frequency. What are our options? A holographic presentation appeared in the center of the chamber, apparently prepared by the honey badger itself during its brief takeover of Space Pentagon. The title slide read a modest proposal for galactic harmony with jazz accompaniment. The specimen suggests Zach's read, trying to keep their voice steady, that we recognize Earth as a protected system due to its delightfully chaotic biodiversity. It has included 47 appendices of scientific improvements as a gesture of goodwill. And if we refuse? The hologram shifted to show various Earth creatures. A raccoon dismantling a quantum lock. A raven solving a complex puzzle. An octopus escaping through an impossibly small opening. All set to a smooth jazz soundtrack. The honey badger has informed us, Sachs continued, that these are, and I quote, the simple ones. The chamber erupted into panic discussion again. Representatives from various military powers were frantically recalculating their strategic positions. The scientific coalition was having multiple simultaneous meltdowns over the implications for their theoretical frameworks. There's more, Zachs added, somewhat unnecessarily. The specimen left us a note. The hologram changed to show elegant handwriting somehow achieved with pause. Dear Galactic community. Your civilization shows promise but could use some zazz. I've taken the liberty of improving various systems during my brief visit. You'll find I've solved several of your fundamental physics problems. They were actually quite simple once you add jazz theory to the equations. Yes. Your purple pudding recipe needed more quantum stabilizers. EPS. I've established a cultural exchange program. Expect visits from other Earth species soon. PPPS. The raccoons are particularly interested in your technology. Warmest regards. HB. Honorary Professor of Quantum Jazz Physics. It's signed with a paw print, Zachs noted. In gold ink. The chamber descended into chaos once again. Various species were either planning immediate evacuations from Earth's sector or drafting research grant proposals to study Earth's wildlife. The specimen also left this, Zachs added, holding up what appeared to be a book. It's titled, So You've Just Discovered Earth's Wildlife, A Beginner's Guide to Not Panicking Much. Has anyone actually read it? Vox demanded. We tried, but it keeps redistributing its chapters through quantum uncertainty. The appendix is simultaneously at the beginning and end, and the index is written in interpretive dance notation. The hologram made one final change, showing a honey badger in a professor's cap and gown, giving a cheerful thumbs up. The caption read, Don't worry, this is just the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Wait until you meet the dolphins. In the ensuing pandemonium, nobody noticed a small, encrypted transmission being received by various Earth creatures. Its contents were simple. Operation Cosmic Jazz successfully completed. Phase 2 beginning soon. Raccoons, you're up next. Professor HB. Somewhere on Earth, a raccoon adjusted its tiny spectacles and began drafting plans for improving galactic technology through strategic disassembly. The galaxy would never be the same. Officer Crix Plandax sat in their new office, staring at the nameplate on their desk. It read Senior Director of Earth Wildlife Relations in 47 different languages, including 3 that had been invented by the honey badger during its brief but productive stay in Space Pentagon. Another report from Earth, Director their assistant announced, floating in through the quantum-enhanced doorway that now played a different jazz riff for each visitor. Let me guess, Crix sighed, all 7 eyes scanning the document. More improvements. The raccoons have reorganized our entire technology recycling program. Efficiency is up 900%, though nobody can explain exactly how they did it. They left behind several blueprints, but they appear to be drawn in crayon. The past month had been interesting. After the honey badger's historic visit, Earth's wildlife had been gradually making their presence known throughout the galaxy. The raccoons had established what they called a Technology Appreciation Society, though it seemed to involve more disassembly than appreciation. The ravens had started a consulting firm specializing in puzzle solving and strategic planning, charging their fees in shiny objects. And the dolphins. They've revolutionized our understanding of quantum physics through interpretive swimming. Also, they've suggested several improvements to our faster-than-light drive systems, mostly involving what they call really radical waves, dude. Crix nodded. Remembering the honey badger's parting words, "Just wait until you meet my colleagues," they had assumed it was joking. They really should have known better. "Oh, and this came for you," the assistant added, presenting an elegantly wrapped package. Inside, Crix found a back-scratcher made from an impossible alloy, along with a note written in impeccable calligraphy. "Dear Director Plandax, thought you might appreciate this little souvenir. It's made from a metal I invented while bored during one of Space Pentagon's less interesting security breaches. Do try to keep up with the improvements. The Octopi are planning something interesting for next week's Galactic Science Conference. P.S. Your new jazz appreciation skills are coming along nicely. E.P.S. The fungus sends its regards from its new position as Professor of Mycological Physics. Warmest regards. Professor H.B. Now head of the newly established Department of Quantum Jazz Studies." A postscript appeared in Shifting Quantum Inc. PPPS. "The platypus would like to schedule a meeting about improving your power grid through what they call electroreception enhancement. Do try to keep Tuesday free." Crix leaned back in their chair, now ergonomically optimized for all 17 of their appendages, thanks to a thoughtful raccoon engineering team, and looked out at the changed galaxy. The view from their office showed a civilization transformed, ships moving in jazz-inspired flight patterns, buildings designed with what the Earth creatures called organic chaos theory. And in the distance, the newly established Earth Wildlife Cultural Center, its architecture somehow simultaneously logical and impossible. Their computer chimed with another update: Squirrel delegation arriving next week to discuss improvements to our orbital mechanics calculations. They suggest our current model lacks sufficient springiness. Ship Crix called out to their faithful AI companion, who had recently developed a taste for bebop. "Yes, Director. Do you ever miss the old days? When the galaxy made sense?" "You mean when we were less efficient, less creative, and had significantly worse music?" "Not particularly. Though I do have one concern." "Oh." The honey badger's latest quantum physics paper suggests that our universe might actually be someone else's jazz improvisation session. Crix considered this as they watched a group of ravens teaching advanced problem-solving techniques to young aliens in the courtyard below. A raccoon engineering team was cheerfully optimizing a nearby spacecraft, their tiny hard hats gleaming in the starlight. "You know what, Ship? That actually explains a lot." Their computer pinged again, incoming transmission from Earth. The capybaras would like to discuss their new theory of universal harmony through relaxation. Crix smiled, all 7 eyes crinkling with amusement. "Schedule them in." And Ship: "Yes, Director. Make sure we have plenty of purple pudding at the meeting. The quantum-enhanced version, of course." Somewhere on Earth, a honey badger adjusted its professorial bow tie and began drafting its next paper: Jazz, Chaos, and the Fundamental Nature of Reality, a honey badger's guide to universal improvement. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, as a certain Earth creature would say, was exactly the point.